Welcome back to TWI Fishing, everybody. Today I wanted to talk about what are some baits that you can be using right now in this very moment to catch bass in the state of Iowa. 4 baits are coming to mind. It is July 2nd, just got done with a fishing trip at a local lake, one of my favorites actually, and I ended up only using 4 baits, and these 4 baits have been baits that I've had tied on for the past couple of weeks, to be honest. They work in many different scenarios. You can cover the whole entire water column, and they can be applied to these lakes that we have here in the state of Iowa. The reason why I feel like this is kind of important to talk about is because you'll see videos of the professional fishermen on YouTube online talking about key baits for June, July. While some of those apply to our lakes here in Iowa, I mean, a lot of our lakes do not have the current flow and the generation that a lot of the southern lakes do. So as a result, I personally feel like the fish kind of set up differently. A lot of our lakes around here also are quite a bit shallower overall than the ones they have down south, which I also think kind of makes those fish set up differently as well, at least a population of them. So the point is, if I were to go out on a lake in Iowa tomorrow, what baits would I be using? It would be the following. These 4 baits, you will go out and catch fish. You can fish them in many different scenarios. Let's check them out. These baits are gonna be in no specific order. I feel like I'm just gonna grab the rod that's closest to me. So the first bait, I mean, it's a classic. We're just gonna be using a jig. This is a 1/2 ounce jig with a Z-Man trailer, but I mean, honestly, any jig, this is a 1/2 ounce. This jig can be fished in any sort of shallow wood, or it could be fished in deeper wood, say 10, 12, 14 feet deep. If you get much deeper than that, you might want to go a little heavier. But a jig is something you want to use. I went out today with the jig, fished a bunch of trees, ended up catching quite a few fish. Didn't really catch anything that was super big. Biggest one was 2 3/4 pounds, but definitely did get some bites in that timber. The key was you can't really throw that jig in the weeds. It's not really weedless per se, so you'd have to either pop it out a little bit or you'd have to fish it in areas that were mostly just trees, or I guess you could do rocks as well. So that's bait number 1, a jig. Bait number 2, you guys have seen this one before. It's a little DT6, little crawdad pattern, a crankbait. Again, these fish are starting to set up on those shallow rock piles. All these rock piles on these lakes here in Iowa are relatively shallow in my opinion. Most of them are in less than 10 feet of water. Yes, there are some lakes that have them in 15 to 18 to 20 feet of water, but I'm finding quite a bit of success fishing the shallower ones. Honestly, reel that crankbait almost as fast as you can. This is a really fast reel. I mean, there's videos that say use like a 5-4 to 1 gear rotation, but this is actually at like a 7-5 to 1. Like, this is a fast reel for throwing a crankbait. Your arms kind of do hurt after a while for throwing it, but I like throwing that crankbait when I'm on shallow rock piles offshore, just to kind of get those fish to react when they're maybe so used to like a shaky head or a jig. Just something that I have a bunch of confidence with. When you start getting a little shallower, you start noticing some weeds. Honestly, a bait that I haven't thrown a lot prior to the past couple weeks, a chatterbait. You hear so much good stuff about chatterbaits online, yet I've rarely thrown them before. I'm honestly not sure why. I've been crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. I'm a madman. But the chatterbait's honestly been super good for me. 2 weeks ago, I should say, it's been super good in shallow timber. Today, I put it to use more in like shallow weeds. The weird thing is, 2 weeks ago, there used to be a lot more weeds on top of the water. Like, you could fish a frog. You couldn't really fish a chatterbait through a lot of it. But I think the recent rains, maybe some low temperatures at night, the weeds on the surface are gone. All the weeds you have are, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches under the surface or just above that. And they're actually ones that you can pop that chatterbait through. Your bait's really not gonna get a whole bunch of weeds stuck on the hook, which is super nice. That's what makes this chatterbait super convenient. You can fish it over top of the weeds. You can fish it further down in the weeds. You can fish it in the shallow timber. I even caught some fish in like 6 to 8 foot of water in timber just casting this chatterbait out. So a good all-around bait to do a little searching, find some active fish. Really liking that chatterbait. All right, the last one, I don't know if you necessarily need this one, but I did catch quite a few fish on it today. A weightless Senko type bait. I mean, this is a Strike King Ocho, but I mean, you could use a Yum Dinger, you could use a Senko, you could use a Maxent General. I mean, you got so many options, but I liked throwing this in the shallower bushes, the things that have more limbs. Relatively shallow water. I mean, less than like 5, 6, 7 feet of water. Literally just let it sink to the bottom. Give it a hop or two, but honestly, just let it sink. Show those fish something they don't really see too often. I mean, I'm sure these fish get really used to seeing a jig or a Texas rig drop in front of their face, but sometimes a slower, weightless Texas rig worm can do the trick. So today it got me some good fish. I was pretty happy with that overall. So again, 4 baits that you can catch bass on here in the state of Iowa right now: chatterbait, jig, crankbait, and Texas rig worm. Not sure how long all of these are going to work for. I can almost guarantee the crankbait, the jig are going to work for a couple more weeks or a couple more months. The chatterbait, depending on grass, probably. The weightless Senko, depending on grass, yeah, probably as well. So again, if you've been anything like me the past couple weekends, struggling a little bit to go fishing, tie on these 4 baits, fish them around, use them in those spots around the rocks, crankbait, trees, the jig and chatterbait, around the bushes, try the worm. Hopefully you'll find some success. All right, I'm done talking, I promise. Let's see what I ended up catching on these baits today, because again, it was a great day on the water. No giants, but I did catch quite a few fish. Let's go check it out, everybody. As soon as it hit the water, bud. As soon as it hit the water, unreal. Been looking for you. Knew there had to be one in there. Just made sense. It's a little guy. Hey, boss. Hey, boss. Gotcha. Little guy. I felt one busted in there too. There's the limit. 2 in a row. Crawdad pinchers in his throat. All right, finally got one there. Bad one, not a bad one. Chunker. Nice looking fish. There we go. Finally got one in there. Little guy. See you, bud. There we go. Got another one. It's not too bad. On the outside. Hey, bud. You looking fish? There we go. This little guy. A little skinny. Hey, bud. See ya. There we go. Good looking fish. Gotta be 3 something. All right. Good chunk of fish are coming, aren't they? Chatterbait. First cat. Yes, sir. Good one. Choke that chatterbait. Look at that thing. Can't even see it when his mouth is closed. All right. Check that sucker. Sorry, bud.
soon as it hits the water. Really? Oh, that's a nice one. That's a true nice one. That's a good one. Take that guy. As soon as it hit the water, of course. Hey, bud. Oh, just came off. Got another one. Hey, bud. See ya. Right there. Dark one. Cool. Choked it. Choked that chatterbait. Not very big, but right in front of me. Thanks, boss. Pulling on it. Get out of there. That's a good one. Got a chunk in here. All right. Choked it. It's a decent one. Oh, that's a fish. Landed right on his head. It's a decent one. Hey, bud. There it is.